finally, a return to the cradle of R.E.M., and this time green. Matt, will you run the numbers, and Josh gets first take?
I will do that. So R.E.M.'s Green comes in at number 81 in the 1980s on Best Ever Albums, number 9 in 1988, number 535 of all time. It's R.E.M.'s seventh highest rated album on Best Ever Albums, behind a bunch that we've covered already, with the exception of Automatic for the People and Out of Time. We're going to cover both of those. But pretty much every other R.E.M. album that we've covered, with the exception of Fables of the Reconstruction, are ahead of this one. This did not make Rolling Stone's list, and R.E.M. is ranked number 19 of overall artist rankings on Best Ever Albums.
Well, guys, I don't have a lot to say about this one other than it's another great R.E.M. album. I really enjoyed listening to it. I feel like Michael Stipe's voice is really kind of reined in or like controlled in a way on this album that the previous albums haven't demonstrated. I noticed the mandolin makes a prominent appearance on this album. I think that's a kind of a distinguishing characteristic, which I enjoyed on You Are the Everything. I like the mandolin on that. It comes in on other songs as well.
You'll love Out of Time then.
The songs are still really great and catchy, and they have these great choruses. Obviously, the biggest song on here is Stand, and but I don't think that's even like my favorite song on this. I like Pop Song 89 a lot. That was the opening track. I really like the song I Remember California, which is kind of got this real like darker sound to it, and the drums on that are really stood out to me on that. I liked Orange Crush a lot. I think that's the other kind of big single off of this one, but I had forgotten that song, and so it was nice to hear it again. But even a song like Hair Shirt has kind of this sad melancholy quality to it, which I think is carried throughout the album with Michael Stipe singing. But overall, I feel like they're just proving time and again, and I sound like a broken record, that like every R.E.M. album is good. It's almost like what Matt is saying about Metallica is like, I can't differentiate what makes one R.E.M. album great versus another. Maybe you guys can
allow me to jump in on that front right here, because I have much stronger opinions than I think you do on that one. So,
okay.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed it. And again, it's another album that I was not exposed to or didn't know other than those singles. So yeah, thumbs up for me on this one.
So like on what's becoming a theme this episode, I feel like this is a band I love, and this is my least favorite work of theirs from the decade. Yeah, I think Green is a considerable step down from all of the other albums. So if I know that Matt said that Fables is considered, but in Best Ever albums, mine's less than this, but not in my world. Mm-hmm. I think what's frustrating about this album, I mean, this is not a bad album. Let's start by saying that. Like, R.E.M. really doesn't, even at their work, they don't really make bad albums, right? They make varying degrees of good to solid albums, right? Mm-hmm. So they've got 3 very big songs on this album. Pop Song 89, which is a very good song and a strong single. Stand, which I am on the fence on as a song. I don't love it, to be honest. I feel like this is a stretch where they're throwing a song on that gets popular, and I never quite understand why they're the songs that get popular. You know, next album would give us like Shiny Happy People, another song that kind of baffles me, because it doesn't really sound like a lot of R.E.M. outside of that. Orange Crush is an objectively great song, and Josh, I'm with you. One of the top 5 like deep track R.E.M. songs is I Remember California, a song I really, really like a lot. One of my favorite R.E.M. songs, actually, and one that doesn't really get talked about ever. But I don't like Hair Shirt. It's one of the worst R.E.M. songs, in my opinion. And Stand, I don't love, if I'm being honest. And there's some other songs that, while they don't go into generic territory, they just don't reach out and grab me as much. And it isn't that I'm worried about R.E.M. going to like a major label like so many people were, because that was the big theme on this, right? Like, this is major label R.E.M. Okay. I don't feel that's the problem, because R.E.M. always had pretty good production, right? There are different levels of it, pretty good production, and they don't really markedly change the formula a little bit. They take a lot of chances. It's just that I don't love some of the different directions they go into as much as what came before. And this is where me having the context of knowing where they're going too. It's, you know, I kind of know the next two albums and what they're going to do and how they sort of take the formula of this and really tweak it into a better version of this. And I'm pretty forgiving for Aria. I will sit here and we're going to talk about Monster, but I'm a fan of Monster, and a lot of R.E.M. fans really hate Monster, but I appreciated that they did really solid hard rock and glam rock in an area outside. So it's not that I need my R.E.M. to be perpetually Murmur like some fans do, right? I just think that for whatever reason, this album does not resonate as much with me. It felt like they were searching for the next chapter of what R.E.M. was going to be heading into the 90s, and I appreciate that, and I think it's a necessary step. I just feel it doesn't hit for me in the way that certainly Murmur and Reckoning and Fables and Life's Rich Pageant and those and Document, all of them, right, like hit me. So for me, a slight thumbs up, but definitely for my taste, the weakest 80s R.E.M. album. And you guys know I'm a huge R.E.M. fan, but yeah. And not a surprise, because I always felt that way about this album.
Yeah, I think this album's interesting. It to me, it's the sound of R.E.M. maturing in some respects and trying to, like you said, John, trying to figure out what the next thing that they're going to do is. And I don't mind it as much as you do. I kind of like, because I mean, basically what I'm hearing is some pretty upbeat, rock, catchy songs. A lot of which you guys have mentioned. Even you guys had mentioned "Turn You Inside Out." That's kind of in that realm as well. More of the upbeat, catchy, and "Get Up." Well, I love "Get Up." That's a great Mike Mills kind of throw in there. Where that's an interesting guitar part that's happening, and like that, the saying "Get Up" is kind of like thrown in there, like as like a side, something that's happening on the side that just kind of comes out of nowhere. It's like in the middle, it's almost like he's interrupting Stipe, as he's singing the lead on that. So I've always liked that song. I think the first time I ever heard that was when I saw them live in '95. I
feel that song's a little lightweight for my taste, to be honest. That's one of the ones I feel is a little generic. It's like kind of
really.
It's sort of 2 minutes and 40 seconds of placeholder, I feel, for my taste.
I disagree with that. I think that's it's got a unique, not so much the chorus, but the verses are really interesting to me. The way I like the guitar, the staccato guitar, and then the juxtaposition of Stipe and Mills's vocals are kind of, to me, it's very interesting. So I've always liked that song. So but then you've got like at least musically, like it's a more introspective sound that's happening with songs like "You Are the Everything," "World Leader Pretend," "The Wrong Child," hair shirt. I mean, and there's certainly it's like Peter Buck discovered the mandolin on this record. It's like it's like when George Harrison figured out how to play the sitar. It's like, let's just put this in half the songs that we're gonna do. And it's just and I'm okay with that. I like the mandolin. I like that it kind of that this album does fluctuate between the more rocking upbeat songs with the more introspective mandolin acoustic songs. So does it hit as much as what they come to use with the next couple albums? No, probably not. And is it more of a weaker album than the ones that we've covered? Possibly. I don't know if I would go so far as John would be. I don't know. My thought, right, for whatever reason, is that Document kind of falls into that category. Now there's some
you that was the one you didn't love as much. Yeah,
there's some high highs on Document, but to me, I was seeing more inconsistency on Document than I am here, I would say. Just as a reaction. Maybe if I listened to them back to back, maybe I would feel differently, but that's just kind of like in my head, that's just kind of where I'm at with this. So but I agree. Orange Crush is great. Stand, I get why, that was one of the earliest memories I ever had of R.E.M. was that before Losing My Religion. I remember that video with isn't that the one with the No, Pop Song 89 is the one with they have the blackout on their chest. They're all like shirtless and they have blackout on the and then they actually have women. I think that it's not just the band, but they're like in solidarity with the women.
He's got that goofy hat on.
Yeah, and they're doing the dance. The people are all doing the swinging the arms dance.
Yes.
Sherry was doing that in the kitchen. I was like, oh, I forgot about the swinging arms dance. You know.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm not.
The feet are moving. They close up on the feet, like jumping, and
the video's not it's not the most intriguing video I've ever seen, but I still like that song. It's still catchy enough for me. So I don't mind R.E.M. doing goofy songs. You know what I mean? Like I'm still a sucker for some just catchy, goofy songs as well. But so I think that there's a pretty good variety on this record. That I guess I see what you're saying, John. Maybe some of the songs aren't as interesting, but it's still a really good album. And I think part of what this might suffer from for you or maybe other people is, an album by a band that's got better albums like that you get really into, but they still did a good album. It's almost like you look down on it more than you would if this was just an album that another band did. This could be somebody other band's best album that they ever did by far, but it just happens to be kind of in the middle of the pack as an R.E.M. record. So I'm not going to go thumbs. I'm going to go thumbs up on this. This has still got some great stuff on it. They are trying to figure some stuff out, but I don't think they're failing miserably or anything like that, or trying to do something that they're really not capable of, or that they should be trying. It's still within their lane, certainly, and it's easier to know that in hindsight, because you know what direction that they go in with some of this stuff. But yeah, I still very much enjoy this record. It's one of the.
I mean, it is the R.E.M. scale, so you're right, Matt.
Yes,
it's a different scale than the average group or just the league average. So,
and I'm not saying you shouldn't judge it like that, because okay, well, if you're going to up the ante and I'm going to expect a lot from you, and if you do a record that's like subpar compared to what you did before, yeah, that's gonna hit harder. That's going to be a lower ranked record for you. But on the whole, album as well. So either way I think is a perfectly fine, reasonable take to have.
I think my taste is starting to diverge from the two of you guys, because you guys are starting to become a lot more similar in your takes. I feel like we're not in the same place in the year 1988, so maybe it's just a blip on the radar, or I don't know what's going on. But
I think it's a blip, because these are two bands that you're very familiar with, that you've had kind of diverting takes on.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.